Week 11 was another tough week in fantasy football. We lost some key players due to injuries, and currently there are several players unavailable due to injuries. Well, today we're going to talk about some key players who you should consider adding via the waiver wire for week 12 to help you going forward because the playoffs are right around the corner. Let's talk about some key wide receivers you should consider adding Week 12 in fantasy football. Mac Hollins with the Raiders is a nice add. He has flex appeal, the opportunity and volume will be there. Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow are both out right now on IR. So Mac Hollins should be a nice add. He had a nice bounce back week 11 with six receptions or 52 yards. So consider adding Mac Hollins. Another nice add at the wide receiver position is DeAndre Carter with the Chargers. Mike Williams left the game after re-injuring his left ankle. He's been dealing with a high ankle sprain, and he re-aggravated that ankle week 11. And Gerald Everett did not play week 11, so we do not know his status as of week 12. And you also have to factor in that Keenan Allen simply hasn't played much this season. He returned week 11 and was on a snap count. So we do not know if he's going to play more week 12 or he's going to be on a snap count. And Carter has been a nice add and has been serviceable the last several games. Another solid add is Donovan Peoples-Jones with the Browns. He had a solid week 11 and he has been consistent the last 7 games. Yes, one more week with Jacoby Brissett, so keep that in mind because he's going to have to build some chemistry with Deshaun Watson. But nonetheless, he has been more consistent this year. And if you're looking for a player to fill in at the wide receiver position or a flex play, he should be able to get you the points you need. Another very good add is Treylon Burks with the Titans. Yes, y'all, finally, he is healthy and had a solid game. Very good production week 11, 7 receptions, 111 yards, and he is available. Keep in mind, the Tennessee Titans are a run-first team. So you should expect them to run the football like they normally do. But Treylon Burks is their guy. Robert Woods had a solid week too, but if I had to choose which wide receiver I was going to select out of those two, I would go with Treylon Burks. Look, they traded away Brown in order to draft Treylon Burks. So he is their future, and they definitely want to see what he has. And again, he was very productive week 11. Not saying he's going to come out and do that same production week 11, but he may be able to get 40, 50 yards and a touchdown, and that is still solid production. Another very good add at the wide receiver position is Darius Slayton with the Giants. Keep in mind, the Giants do not throw the football a whole lot. That coaching staff is managing Daniel Jones to limit his errors. So keep that in mind. But I will tell you this, the opportunity is there. He is the number 1 wide receiver going forward because Wan'Dale Robinson tore his ACL week 11 and he is done for the season. So it's definitely going to be Darius Slayton. Been very good the last 4 games, 26 targets, 16 receptions, 305 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's solid production for a player who is on waivers. He's out there and he's available. So if you're struggling at the wide receiver position and you are looking to add a player who should be able to produce, it definitely will be Slayton because again, the volume is going to be there because they don't have anyone else. I'm sorry, they don't have anyone else. Right now, their best wide receiver is a running back, and his name is Saquon Barkley. So if you can pick up Slayton, and make sure you do so. Here are some other wild cards. We have rookie wide receiver Jameson Williams with the Lions. He has been designated to return from IR and is now eligible to practice. So if you can pick him up, pick him up. You simply never know what they're going to do with him. They drafted him high, so they have high expectations for him, and he may be able to help you later on this season. So make sure you add him this week. Do not wait until he actually plays and say he has a really good game. Now you're going to be competing with everyone for him. And these players may not be available at the wide receiver position for you, but if by some slim chance they are still available, try to pick them up. George Pickens, Christian Watson, and Darnell Mooney, they were picked up a lot last week. They aren't, they're over 65 to 70% owned in, say, Yahoo leagues, but it doesn't mean they're still not available. I know that Christian Watson is available in one of my leagues. If I don't have the top claim, then I most likely won't be able to pick him up. So make sure you thoroughly check the waiver wire to see who is out there. Now let's talk about the tight ends. I'm sorry, y'all, but damn, Kyle Pitts is done for the season. That hit looked really bad, and I thought he would miss some time, but I wasn't expecting him to be done for the season. It has been a hit or miss with Kyle Pitts because of Marcus Mariota at the quarterback position, and they just haven't consistently gotten him involved. But again, if you had Kyle Pitts, you were still considering starting him every week, considering what he did last season and what he potentially may have done each game this year. So consider adding these tight ends. Austin Hooper with the Tennessee Titans. He had his best game week 11, 4 targets, 4 receptions, 36 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's going to be touchdown dependent. And remember, the Tennessee Titans are a run first team. But if you are struggling at the tight end position because, say, you have Kyle Pitts and he is no longer available this season, or you have Dallas Goedert and he isn't available right now, and you don't know when he is going to play, and you don't have any reliable options on your bench, then maybe take a chance on Austin Hooper. Another tight end you should consider taking a chance on is Cole Kemet with the Bears. He is more involved over the last several weeks. We thought he was going to have a breakout season. As you can see, things have been slowly going in the right direction for Cole Kemet and Darnell Mooney. We thought both of these guys were going to have very good seasons, but that hasn't been the case. But over the last few games, they have been more involved. And again, if you have Kyle Pitts and then you're looking on your bench and you don't have anyone else, Cole Kemet may be able to help you. You need points. You don't want to not be able to get the points, because that may be the difference between you winning and losing and moving forward in the playoffs or not moving forward in the playoffs. So make sure you are thoroughly checking to see who is out there and always try to get the best player. Another solid add is Greg Dulcich with the Broncos. The last 2 games haven't been good at all, but we do know he is their guy at the tight end position. The Broncos simply are struggling offensively. It's a hot mess. The expectations for them this season was the playoffs, right? But now it's like, ooh, not a very good football team. They have a lot of talented weapons, but they simply haven't been able to put that together. But Greg Dulcich, because he has struggled the last 2 weeks, right? Before the last 2 weeks prior to week 11, he has been released a bit. And I don't think that's necessarily the right strategy. But if he's available and someone released him because they're like, oh, he's not producing, then go on and pick him up, because I do believe he'll continue to get back on track. He did have a solid week 11. And I do expect him to continue to be involved. You have Jerry Jeudy out. KJ Hamler's going to miss some time. So Russell Wilson got to throw the football to somebody. It's not going to just only be Courtland Sutton. So consider picking up Greg Dulcich if someone in your league just gave up on him and released him. Another very good ad is Jawan Johnson with the Saints. He has been very solid the last few games. 13 targets, 10 receptions, 133 yards, and 3 touchdowns. That is solid production. at a position where it's the top five, and then it's everyone else. And then when you think about everyone else, a lot of these everyone else tight ends haven't produced. And if you could find a tight end on waivers like Johnson, who has been producing the last few weeks, and Andy Dalton is looking for him, and also keep in mind that Michael Thomas is done for the season. We know that Olave is the number one. Landry is back. And what we also know is the Saints are going to be behind, so they're going to be throwing the football. So there is opportunity for Juwan Johnson to see some targets, and you're seeing that he has been receiving the targets, so consider adding him. Another tight end to consider adding is Foster Moreau with the Raiders. Now, he is touchdown dependent, and normally he plays well, but I don't know. Well, let's just say this: the Raiders haven't looked great all season long, but he simply is a player who can help you. He didn't have a good week this week. I'm sorry, he stunk it out. One reception for 33 yards, which is why I said he's touchdown dependent some weeks. And some weeks he will see more targets. Devontae Adams has been on a tear the last few weeks, and they are making sure they get Adams involved. But you got to think Hunter Renfrow is out, right? You got him out, and then you also have Darren Waller out. So there are some targets there. There are going to be some games where he is going to see a lot of volume, and he's going to actually capitalize on that volume and have 6-7 receptions. And he'll have some yardage, but maybe not the touchdown. So consider adding him if you are in desperate need of help at the tight end position. Let's talk about these running backs. I'm going to kick this thing off with Latavius Murray, y'all. The Denver Broncos released Melvin Gordon, which was a shocker. But again, Latavius Murray seemed to be becoming the lead back for that team, and he will be the clear-cut lead back going forward. You have Chase Edmonds, who is going to miss some time, and then you also have Marlon Mack, who they haven't added to the active roster. He's been a healthy scratch ever since he signed with the Broncos. I'm going to assume they're going to have to play him when you have Chase Edmonds out, and then you released Gordon. Okay, this is all about volume because he's not averaging a lot of yards per carry. Week 11 was simply all about volume and capitalizing with the touchdown. Again, the Denver Broncos offensive line isn't that good, and offensive wise, they haven't been good. But again, if he's the lead back and he's receiving the volume, like 17 carries, week 11, you want that guy on your bench, and he may be able to help you over the next coming week. So what? 17 carries, 49 yards and a touchdown, week 11, and 4 receptions for 23 yards. So again, the volume is there, and we don't care if he averages 2 yards per carry. If he's able to get the volume and then he happens to score a touchdown, we're fine with that production. Another running back you should consider adding is Kyren Williams with the Rams. He was more involved week 11. He had 7 carries, 36 yards, 1 reception for 8 yards. Look, I believe the Rams season is over. I don't think they're going to make it to the playoffs. They simply haven't been a good football team this year. Matthew Stafford is all banged up. He hasn't looked good. Cooper Kupp, most likely by the time he's able to return due to the timetable he was given, it may be too late and not a good idea to activate him back from IR, considering if they're losing games and they're not a playoff team, which means they should be wanting to see what they have in Kyren Williams. I don't believe they're high on Akers. I don't care if they weren't able to trade him or decided not to trade him. Akers and Henderson have shown us that they're simply not the guy at the running back position. So you need to see what you have in Kyren Williams. And also Henderson is dealing with a knee injury. So that may have played into why he wasn't involved. And again, you want to see what you have in Kyren Williams. So why not? Okay, another solid add is Samaje Perine with Cincinnati. Joe Mixon left the game and is now in the concussion protocol. So who else is going to be the starting running back? In any event, he is unable to be cleared week 12. It's going to be Samaji, and he had a very good week 11 once Mixon was unable to return. 11 carries, 30 yards. He's not going to really have a lot of yards, average a lot of yards per carry, but he's going to catch the ball. He had 4 receptions for 52 yards and a touchdown. He had a very good week 11. Cincinnati, even without Jamar Chase, they're still a solid offense and explosive. They're going to utilize him. He's going to see the opportunity. So if you can pick him up, pick him up. Another running back you should definitely consider adding is Rachaad White with Tampa. He should continue to see more opportunities. They looked much better when they were running the football a lot. You had Fournette running, you had White running, Vaughn came in there a little bit, and also week 10, you have to keep in mind Leonard Fournette didn't return, was dealing with I believe it was a hip injury. So I'm not saying he's not going to play, but I do believe they're going to utilize Rachaad White a little bit more. Week 10 was his best game of the season. 22 carries, 102 yards. He's a threat in the passing game. So I do believe it's Leonard Fournette and White, and they're going to use White a little bit more. So if you can pick Rachaad White up, pick him up. Now let's talk about some quarterbacks you should consider adding. Week 12, Ryan Tannehill with the Titans. He has been much better over the last 2 weeks, 588 yards, 4 touchdowns versus 1 interception, which is solid. And he has the Bengals, and he has Cincinnati week 12. So consider adding Ryan Tannehill. And another solid add is Marcus Mariota with the Falcons. He has the Commanders week 12. And if nothing else, Marcus Mariota is going to, at some point, get you the points. It's going to probably stress you out early on. But at the end of the day, he's going to run the football and probably score rushing touchdowns. He's going to pass the ball. I would love to see what they're going to do, considering Kyle Pitts is no longer available for the remainder of the season. I'm hoping they're going to get Drake London more involved, and hopefully that will help Marcus Mariota. Make sure you leave some comments and let me know your thoughts on the players we recommend that you add for week 12 in fantasy football. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Again, we have a lot of great content which will help you throughout your fantasy football season, especially week 12 and going forward as you prepare for the playoffs. Tune in on Wednesday. We have a great pre-Thanksgiving episode. We are going to do our Thanksgiving predictions on who's going to win the 3 games on Thanksgiving. And we will tell you recommend the players we think will potentially have good games, and they have favorable matchups on Thursday, Thanksgiving football. All right, y'all. I'll see you guys on Wednesday.
Thanks for listening to the Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Blown Coverage Fantasy Football Podcast.